Hey guys, and welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about the Tampa Bay Rays. The Rays last year had their first losing record since 2007 with their 77-85 record. From 2008 to 2013, they won 550 games and had a .565 winning percentage in the regular season, and they also made the playoffs 4 times, and of course they went to the World Series in 2008 and lost to the Phillies. So they had their most successful run in their very short history during that span of years. But two of the key faces of this Rays franchise over the successful run left this offseason, and those two pieces being Joe Madden, their manager, and Andrew Friedman, the general manager. This goes without saying. Kevin Cash, the new manager, and Matthew Silverman, the new general manager, will have huge shoes to fill after the departures of those two faces of the franchise. The other big move that the Rays made this offseason was trading Will Myers to the Padres in a 3-team deal including the Rays, Padres, and Nationals. In exchange for Will Myers, the Rays got Rene Rivera, a very good defensive catcher who had some good offensive numbers last year actually, and he had a little bit of breakout last year, and 4 prospects including Steven Souza, Birch Smith, Jake Bowers, and Travis Ott. Only time will tell how this move will work out for the Rays, but on paper I think it works out for all 3 teams actually. So this is going to be a perfect segue into talking about the position players and of course talking about their catcher, Rene Rivera. Rivera had pretty much a breakout year last year. In 103 games and 329 plate appearances, he hit 11 home runs and drove in 44 runs and had a .252 average with a .319 on-base percentage and a .432 slugging percentage, an OPS of .751. He was also excellent on defense, and overall, in about a half a season's worth of at-bats, he was worth 3 wins, according to Baseball Reference. He's a solid piece to this Rays team, and I think he's going to continue on his success from last year. So I'm going to talk about the infield, and starting at first with James Loney, who is overall a really mediocre player, especially for a first baseman. His only strength is batting average. He's hit .290 the past couple of years. He's pretty mediocre at defense. He really doesn't have much power. I mean, he is what he is. He fills a spot, and he's an average player. I mean, he can have an all-star at every position. And at second, it looks like they're going to go with former Mariners prospect Nick Franklin. He's really unproven, but he has a lot of potential, so I hope that he can, step up to the plate this year. At short, they have Asdrubal Cabrera, who they signed this offseason. He hasn't been quite as good the past 2 years after hitting 20-25 home runs a couple of years ago, but he's still a solid player. He'll hit some home runs, and I think he'll help this team a little bit. He's pretty mediocre defensively, other than an occasional web gem, and yeah, he's pretty average. I mean, he's nothing special really anymore. And of course, their best position player, Evan Longoria, he had his worst year of his career, and he's still at 22 home runs and drove in 91 runs. So that sort of says how good of a career he's had so far. And I think he's going to bounce back. I don't see him being close to a mediocre player. His OPS plus was 107 last year. His lowest one before that was like 120 something, so I don't see him being that bad again. We'll talk about the outfield. In left, I think they're going to have a platoon with David DeJesus facing the right-handed pitching and Brandon Guyer facing the left-handed pitching. Yeah, nothing really special there. It's a platoon, so obviously neither of the players are really that good. And in center, Desmond Jennings, who has turned into a respectable player. He'll steal some bases, hit .250, draw some walks, maybe hit 10, 15 home runs. I mean, he's a solid little player. He's nothing special, but for, in this day and age, offense being down, he's an everyday guy. And in right field, they have a nice young player, the 24-year-old Kevin Kiermaier. Last year, he had a respectable rookie year when he hit .263 with a 750 or 765 OPS in about 330 at-bats. And looks like he's going to be a solid player for them, and maybe they won't miss Will Myers that much. And at DH, it looks like they're going to have John Jaso, a former Ray who's coming back. he has been pretty solid as a hitter the past couple of years, and I think his numbers might improve now that he's not doing catching anymore. He looks like he's going to be the DH for them mostly. Overall, with position players, they are either mediocre or big question marks or Evan Longoria. So, you know, I think that this lineup has some potential, but overall, I don't really see it being all that great. But defensively, I think they're going to be a good ball club. Probably a top 10 defense. But their strength is their pitching, and I'm about to talk about that next. This Rays rotation is full of awesome, talented young arms. And starting off this list with their #1 starter, Alex Cobb, he has been one of the better young pitchers in the league the past couple of years. In 2013, he had a 2.76 ERA, and last year he had a 2.87 ERA. So, I mean, that's really impressive for someone who's not even 25 yet. And that's the second pitcher that they have in their rotation, Chris Archer, had a pretty decent year last year. He had a 3.33 ERA and a 8 strikeout per 9 rate, which is pretty solid. I mean, you're almost striking out a batter per inning. So expect a very productive season out of him. And of course, Drew Smyly, who's another player they got in one of the trades the last trade deadline. He's a pretty solid pitcher. He's sort of been bounced around from the bullpen and the starting rotation, but I think he's going to implement himself as a solid starter for the Rays this season. And of course, after that, you have Jake Odorizzi, who's a pretty solid young pitcher. He's really not that special, but, you know, what are you going to do? At the end of the rotation, they have a few options. Two young pitchers, Nathan Carnes and Alex Colomé. And the only reason why these guys are being considered is because Matt Moore is still recovering from injury. He should be back in either June or early July. I think these two young arms could be adequate while they wait for Matt Moore to return, because Matt Moore is a really good pitcher. And especially when Matt Moore gets back, they're going to have an awesome starting rotation, and it's probably this team's biggest strength. So transitioning to the bullpen, they have a pretty solid bullpen. They have Brad Boxberger, who I think should be the closer this year. Last year, he was lights out. He struck out 14.5 guys per 9, which is really, really good, and had a 2.37 ERA. So I really think he should be the closer this year, because Grant Balfour kind of sucked last year. He had an ERA almost of 5, and he's getting up there in age. So I'm not sure if they're going to... I hope he's not the closer, just for the Rays' sake. And Jake McGee, who's a pretty solid pitcher out of the pen. He's proven that he's a pretty good arm out there. And some other guys I want to mention are Kirby Yates, who had a decent rookie year. He wasn't anything special, but I think he could grow on what he did last year and become a pretty good pitcher out of the pen. And Ernesto Frieri, who just a couple of years ago was a dominating force out of the Angels bullpen. He struggled the past year or two, but I'm hoping that he can come back and impress some people. I'm not sure if he will or not, but I just thought I'd mention him. And Kevin Jepson, who is really inconsistent year to year, but he's been around for a while and he has name recognition, so I thought I'd just mention him real quick. Overall, this Rays bullpen has some really good arms, and I think there's a lot of potential here, especially if Grant Balfour can bounce back. They could have one of the better pitching staffs in the league, no doubt, with that rotation and some of the arms, especially Boxberger that they have. Yeah, I think that even if Balfour has a 4 ERA, I think this bullpen is still going to be respectable, and they have some good arms out there. So overall, I think the pitching on this team is excellent, and that's what's going to keep them in the race this summer. Overall, I think the Tampa Bay Rays are going to be a wild card contender. I don't know if they'll get there. I expect them to win about 85, 84 games. They have, like I said, awesome pitching and respectable lineup, not horrible but not great either, and good defense. So I think that all adds up to good close pitching duels most of the year, and they're going to be in a lot of games, and I expect them to win, you know, more than half of them. So yeah, I think that the Rays are pretty solid this year, and thanks for watching, everybody. The next video will be the last one in the AL East. It's going to be the Toronto Blue Jays. If you haven't noticed yet, I'm doing it by division in alphabetical order, like Baltimore, Boston, New York, Tampa, Toronto. And yeah, so thanks for watching, everybody, and like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed this at all. And bye.